guys, welcome to my first video for the how to use to understand how to use the Visual Studio. So whenever you open or after the installation process, the Visual Studio asks you to select a type of development settings. There you have to click on general development settings. Once it is done, like for general development settings, you can see the start page like this. So here I have few more components which will help you during the development process. To create your first application in Visual Studio, what you have to do is click on your file, new project. So since Visual Studio integrated development environment supports almost 46 different flavors of language, here we can see we have Visual C#, Visual Basic, Visual F#, Visual C++ that is supported by our IDE, and it also supports Python, TypeScript, etc. It's a now we can build cross-platform applications. That is, your Visual Studio itself support for Android development, iOS development, and cross-platform development apps. Okay, so our intention is to see how to create a console application in Visual Studio. So if I click on console application, now I will create an application using console. So today now we will be seeing how to add two numbers using console application. So I'll name my application name as add2num, and after clicking OK, I can see the skeleton. So we call it as a .NET. .NET is a framework and C# is a language. Framework means it provides us the skeleton. So here it provides the basic skeleton which contains your class, main function, everything. So based on the logic we fill over here, it will identify what program it is. Okay, so since I'm doing some basic stuffs, I don't need to have all these things. Using system is enough. We call this as a namespace or a library, and we are not passing any string array of arguments. So since C# is a more cleaner version of Java, we don't need those things. Now what I'll do, I will int num1 is equal to console. So whatever we read, it will be in the form of a string. So whenever we read some data, we have to pass it to the integer format. So console dot read line. Okay, console.writeLine indicates that you can see your output in a black window, that is your command prompt. Number. So similarly, I can enter the second number, that is num2. Okay, so int sum is equal to my number1 and number2. This gives me the sum of two numbers. How to print this one? Console dot writeLine, the sum is I did concatenation operation. After that, to make my window hold on for a second until I press any key, I can see this. I can see the output. So here basically we have something called as namespace. The namespace is a collection of properties of same class type. Since this is a very basic program, I think we don't need this. And this is enough. Okay, this created a very sample program of adding two numbers. If I press Ctrl F5, it will go to non-debugging mode. Okay, so there it will start its building. Here you can see like it is getting built. So once it is done, it is asking me to enter the first number. My first number is 32 and my second number is 45. So 32 plus 45, the sum is 77. Okay, but these things you will be learning in college itself, but our concentration is like how to convert or how to build a web application by knowing the concepts what we have developed in our college sample programs. So for that we have to click on File, New Project. I have told you like Visual Studio supports so many types of applications. So here we can see ASP.NET Web Application. So today we'll be learning what is a web application and how to create a web application. So same add two numbers, it's a web application. Okay, after clicking OK, it is asking for like what kind of application I have to create. So I'll click on empty. So it's a web form kind of thing and I don't want to host it in the cloud right now. I'll click on OK. Once after clicking on OK, so everything got created. So how to see like what all things that has been loaded? You have to click on View, open your Solution Explorer. So here you can see like what all contents that has been created. Okay, now I wanted to create a web page where I can provide the facility for the user to enter their numbers. Okay, so I'll create my web page by clicking on Add New Item and Web Form. If you are using Visual Studio 2010, so the web form might be like something like different, so but the name will be web form itself. So web form, I'll call it as index.aspx. aspx means active server pages extended. Once after creating the page, here in Solution Explorer I can see my index page has been placed. Along with that, two more pages has been placed. So here I can see this web page in 3 dimensions, that is split. I can see the design view and coding view. Design view, completely design view, and source. Okay, here first we have to add a label to indicate I am trying to specify the user to enter the first number. So enter the first number. Okay, along with that I need to put a text box so that the user can provide an input. So input type is equal to text. Okay, so after typing input type is equal to text, since this will run from server, it should be like runnet is equal to server, and every control needs to have an ID, that is why ID is equal to num1. So this is my first text box, and similarly I'll put one more text box, that is like second number. Okay, the user will enter this second number. For this my ID will be num2. So each and every control should be unique, that's the reason it has different IDs. Okay, now we will see like how my web page will look like. Okay, so my web page will look like this. So we'll design something little bit. Okay, add h1 tag sample web page to add two numbers. Okay, so this will be very helpful for the beginner to understand the basic syntax. Okay, after this one, to add I need to have a button. So for that, what I have to do, I can type button. Sorry, there is one more way of adding contents into your web page, that is like through your toolbox. Go to view, click on toolbox. So you need a button and you can drop it here. In design view, you can see like there is a button over here. If you double click on that, it will create a code stub, that is like for your button click what your web page has to do. That business, that logic has to go here. Okay, so for that, so once after the user clicks on this button, I have to read the values from the text box, that is the data whatever the user enters in the text box 1 and text box 2, and it will sum, and my application should sum up and it should display the data whatever we enter, the numbers whatever we enter here. Okay, so for that, my text box 1 id is num1, so int num1 is equal to whatever you enter the data in the text box, it will be in the form of a text. So I have to parse it. Int dot parse num1 dot value. Dot okay, so num1 dot value, and my int2 is equal to int dot parse num2 dot value. Okay, so after these things, int sum is equal to my num1 will contain the data whatever I enter in my text box 1, and n2 will contain the data whatever I typed in my text box 2. Okay, so I want to display as it in the form of an alert. So for that, I have to write response dot write. Inside that one, it will take as a string, and I have to create a JavaScript here. So I have to send it in the form of an alert. Alert, the sum of two numbers is, the sum of two numbers is my sum. Okay, this looks perfect for the execution, so we will execute it once. So once it is done, so what we can do, it is done. See, my first number is 45 and the second number is 67. Once if I click on add, the sum of two numbers is 112. This looks great, right? So I have to, the formatting stuff we can see in our later videos. Okay, so in our next session we see like how to debug the application and how to understand the behavior of the application. If you have any doubts, you can contact me through my email address. The mail to boika@gmail.com. And if you need any queries, you can either write it as a comment or you can send a mail so that I can clarify your doubts. If you have any doubts, you can mail to this email address, and if you need any help in debugging, you can contact me up, or you can WhatsApp me at 7204687910 or 9036453 696. Thank you.